Welcome. I am so excited you're here. I'm borderline obsessed with up-leveling your marriage, improving it, making it exactly what you want it to be. I am so obsessed because I was miserable for 10 years. At one point, the end of it, my husband was really packing his bags and I was looking for apartments for him to move out. So I know what it feels like to be desperate, to be in despair, to be hopeless about the situation, to think there is no way it will ever change. It can't get better. I know what that's like, but I'm here to tell you that it can and that I'm in a better marriage than I ever was, even in the beginning, right now. So, how did this happen? I cannot wait to show you. So, my definition of marriage betrayal is just what we believe and hope will be the reality in our marriage is not. So, betrayal thoughts that I had were like, I'm hurt and mistreated. And this is not what I thought my marriage would look like. And being married is way harder than I expected. So, why do we experience pain in our marriage? I mean, we're supposed to live happily ever after, right? It's because we're all imperfect humans having a human experience. And we all don't live up to what is expected of us, spouses included. Have you even thought about how hard it is for you to change something about yourself that you don't like? But somehow we think that if we just tell our spouses what we need them to change, that they'll just be able to change it. And it will be that easy. Because why can't they just do that? But have you tried changing things in you? It's harder than it looks. We're just humans. So number three, which I think is the key, is we haven't learned the skills to have a better relationship. I floundered for 10 years. I read books. I listened to podcasts. I looked online. I could not figure out what I was supposed to do to make this better. I thought I was doing everything that I could, but it looked so different when I figured it out than I thought it would look. So I'm going to give you 10 examples of some issues in marriage that I've heard from real couples. And you are not going to have the exact same sentence that they have about the exact same issue. There's a million issues in a million different couples, right? But this will give you an idea of what your betrayal might be. What issues may you have had in your marriage? And take out a pen and write them down. Let's do this together. This is the very first part of the work. Like, what even is the problem here? Why am I feeling so bad in my marriage? So these are some sentences, just some sentences that I've heard from couples. So financial fraud issues. My spouse spends money we don't have. Spiritual issues. My spouse has left our faith and doesn't keep the word of wisdom. He goes out at night and drinks. My spouse has tech slave issues, plays video games or scrolls social media instead of spending time with me. Communication issues, doesn't value my opinion. How about pornography issues? This is common. My spouse masturbates while viewing pornography. How about hero issues? My spouse helps everyone, including neighbors or work colleagues, before helping me. I come dead last. How about sexual intimacy issues? This one's also really, really common. My spouse doesn't want enough sex or wants more sex than I do. LGBTQ issues. I've heard my spouse is bisexual, gay, lesbian, or transgender. Infidelity issues. My spouse has been unfaithful physically or emotionally with another person. Core value issues. This can look like so many things. My spouse and I don't agree on parenting, employment, living arrangements. All of these end up being pretty big deals, and there are so many more that really knock us off our game, don't they? And make us spin and think, maybe I married the wrong person, or what is going on here? So our spouse may seem cold and disrespectful and selfish and distant and all the things. Using my definition of betrayal, what we believe and hope will be the reality our marriage is not, can also include things that neither spouse did, like infertility, mental health challenges, or physical health challenges, or an economic downturn and your finances are upside down, COVID, unexpected pregnancy, extended family issues. Pick your poison, guys, because this is how it looks. When have you uttered under your breath or thought, I didn't plan on this in relation to your marriage? I think that was one of the biggest, hardest things for me, is my expectations were not what happened in reality. So this is the absolute truth, guys. In mortality and in marriage, life will deal the unexpected at some point. It is not going to look exactly like you thought it would look like. And that's part of why we're here. This marriage is your PhD program to becoming more like Christ. There is purpose and meaning in what you're going through right now. Are you going to win or are you going to lose? Because we're all going to experience these things. It's going to look different for everybody, but we're all going to have affliction. So which stage are you feeling presently? And I'll tell you the world's view of betrayal or grief. This is what it looks like. And it's scary. And I did it for 10 years. That's how I know how scary it is. It looks like this. Number 1, shock. Number 2, denial. Number 3, obsession. Number 4, anger, bargaining, depression. If you go look these up, stages of betrayal, it is a path to pain. And I endured it. I endured it for 10 years because I didn't know any other path. But what it looked like is online, it will tell you every single one of these stages you can get stuck in, and you can bounce back and forth between them. And you can be stuck forever. Isn't that a scary thought? You can be stuck in a marriage that is miserable for years. I know a couple, 57 years so far, they have been stuck in misery. You have got to learn the way out because there's a way out. Notice some people in this world, which I think the stage of betrayal, and it's not saying that they're wrong. You may be in one of these stages. I was for 10 years. I wasn't a bad person. I just didn't know how to get out. And it's not wrong to be in any of these stages. It's actually normal. That's why it's the stages of betrayal or grief, because people go through all 6 of these when they are having hard times in their marriages and in their lives. So it's not wrong, but just ask yourself the question, do you want to stay stuck there? Do you want to stay stuck there if there is a different path, if there's a different way, if there's a way out? So Jesus, he was betrayed, right, by Judas Iscariot for 30 pieces of silver. The end result was he got crucified and he died on the cross. And what an example of someone who experienced betrayal and rose above it. He said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He thought of other people. He said to John, woman, here's your mother. And he said to his mother, here is John to take care of you. He was thinking of other people. He was being tortured, basically. He was thinking of the thieves next to him and said, this day you will join me in paradise. I mean, he was an incredible example of what this can look like. The world's way is shock, and it's okay to be in shock when things happen that we didn't expect. Okay, my next favorite scripture hero, I have to say, is Joseph, the one whose brothers sold him into Egypt, and he had to go be a slave for Pharaoh, and he was definitely betrayed. I mean, can you imagine? And what the world would say is deny what's going on, like this isn't happening, this shouldn't be happening, this isn't right. And he still was an example of what is possible. I love his story. So what has affliction stage been like for you? For me, it looked like this. First, I was in the anger and upset stage. I was so just confused. Why is this happening to me? I've tried to do the right. And why is this so hard? And then the second was I was just hunkering down and hanging on. I was hoping things would get better. And I was in survival mode. I was just waiting, hoping things would get better. But the research shows that most couples don't try to get help for 7 years. And I tried to get help at about 9 years, and it doesn't get better in those years. It gets worse if you don't have skills and tools and you're not trying to figure it out. So at about year 9, we went and did therapy and counseling and group programs and things, and none of them helped. And so that's where we got to the point where after one counseling session, that is when we got in our hugest fight. And he was like, I'm leaving. And I was like, yeah, you should leave because we've tried everything and none of it worked. And so I really thought I was completely hopeless that we would ever figure this out. But there is a way out. And that was turning to new ideas and actions that I had never explored before. And that's why I'm here right now, because I couldn't find these tools and skills for 10 years. And I don't want you to suffer for 10 years if I can help it. So that's why I'm passionate about this work. I want you to not suffer like I did. So this is the path to peace, and it's Christ's way. And all the things that I will teach you in my program are completely parallel with the gospel of Jesus Christ. I did all the things. I went on a mission. I graduated from BYU. I got married in the temple. I did all the things. I knew to have charity and love and forgive 70 times 7 and all the gospel teachings. I knew they were true, but I couldn't figure out the how. I couldn't figure out the how to get peace. And so this is what I teach. So so I was in betrayal and the affliction, just like I already showed you. And then there was the surrender. And that was where we turned to Christ, right? Turned to Christ. I was praying. I was looking at podcasts. I was reading. I was doing everything that I could think of, trying to help make it better. Okay. But then I found the help, which is the things that I teach in my program. And it was work. And then number 7, I was able to prosper in my marriage. And through this whole thing, through the help, the work, and prospering, I was healing, and my husband is healing, and things were shifting and changing. We were treating each other better. We were acting more like we wanted to act. We were being more Christ-like. So that's what it looks like. This is not the world's view on how this is going to get fixed. It's completely different, and it is so much better. Christ's way is always the best way. So in stage 3, the surrender, the world will tell you to obsess. That's where you constantly check phones and you constantly be controlling and manipulative and have these conversations about you need to change this and this and this, and then I'll be happy. And there's the talk, that you have all the time that you sit there and spin and never come to any conclusion, never come to a good solution. None of that works, guys. So the surrender is you are going to figure out you need help. You need to figure this out. And what are you going to do? How are you going to figure it out? So what thoughts do you currently have about your marriage? Write them down. If they were anything like mine, they weren't good. They're no good. So stage 4 was the help. This is when Joseph is in the prison and he interprets the dreams of these 2 men, and one of them gets saved by Pharaoh. And he says, I'll remember you and I'll tell Pharaoh that you interpreted my dream and you can get out. What happens after that? He forgets him. Joseph is stuck in prison still. So what steps are you taking to change or fix your marriage? Are you still trying to be faithful? Are you still going to God? Are you still looking for answers in that way? Because Joseph did. Even when he got forgotten, he was still always trying to do the right thing. He was helping others. He got put as like one of the main people over all the other prisoners because he was so well respected and loved. So he must not have had all kinds of horrible feelings and thoughts and behaviors about being left and stuck and forgotten in prison. Okay. So stage 5 is the work. And this is all the things that I will teach you, all beliefs, the beliefs that you need to have to totally upend this relationship, to turn it on its head. They are beliefs that you have to start adopting that you don't believe right now. Because if you did believe these beliefs, you'd be having a great marriage right now. So your spouse doesn't have to change. All you have to do is change your belief system and you will be fine. This marriage will be fine. Everything will work out. I've seen it time and time again. So we don't need to sit and bargain for years and years. Be this transactional thing. Like if you do this, then I'll be happy. If I do this, then you'll be happy. It doesn't look like that. It never will. It never will look like that and work. So what would you be willing to do to find relief, clarity, and peace in your marriage? What would you be willing to do? So stage 6 is a healing. And this is where you can stay in depression forever. Like nothing works. This isn't working. And I am miserable. And I sat there for a very long time, guys. And I don't want you to sit there. The healing is so much better and it's so much quicker. When I found this work, I'd been married for 20 years. And it has been progressively better for the past 7. I mean, amazingly better. So much that I never expected. I never anticipated. My husband just left to go work in Oregon, and we were super sad. We are going to miss each other like crazy this week. And you guys, I remember when this all got to the worst point, I could not wait for him to go away to work for a week. I was thrilled. I was like, oh, phew, I don't have to deal with this marriage and these issues and him for a whole week. Can you imagine being in a spot where you absolutely are going to miss your husband or your wife like crazy when they leave for a week? I sure couldn't. So, what healing have you experienced in your marriage? I hadn't really experienced healing, but maybe you have. Maybe you've had some moments where you felt healing. And what has that looked like? And how do you continue on that path? So, stage 7 is acceptance. And this is basically where I got to finally, in the end, where I looked back and I realized that there was purpose and meaning to all of it, all the struggle, all the affliction, all the pain. There was purpose in it. Just like Joseph tells his father and his brothers, this, don't feel bad anymore. I forgive you. He had this amazing moment where he hugs them and he basically says, this happened for a reason. This was for a purpose. And it was so I could save you and save our whole family. And if the betrayal hadn't happened, if all the affliction hadn't happened, if all the things hadn't happened, I would not be in the position I am in now. And that is where your power is going to lie. You're going to realize that in this marriage, you have, if you do the steps, if you do the work, that you will become more like Jesus Christ. And that is the whole purpose of why we are here. That is why we are here. We are here to become more like Jesus Christ. So if this marriage got plopped in your lap to teach you the PhD program of how to become more like him, then let's kill it. Let's do it. We can do this. It's totally possible. Jesus Christ did. Joseph did. I did. I've forgiven. My husband's forgiven. We've moved past it. We're just mere mortals in this world. And I've seen so many other couples do the same. So, what is to keep you from doing it? You absolutely can. So, if your marriage were to prosper, what would it be like for you? How would it feel? What would it be like for your spouse? What would it be like for your family or your future family? So, about a year after I started doing this work, my husband and I went on an anniversary trip to Hawaii. And we were on a different time zone. So we were up at 5 a.m., like super early, and I didn't want to sleep any longer. Neither did he. So we hopped out of bed and went to the ocean. No one was there. It was just us and little ghost crabs running around. And I watched the sun come up while he was snorkeling. And I had the most amazing experience ever because I had felt for so long. I would never feel true joy again. I mean, I could fake it. I could pretend like I was okay. And I could, on the outside pretend, but I had not felt true joy for so long. And I felt true joy again as the sun came up. And I felt peace. And I felt finally a little bit of a conclusion to this pain and suffering that I experienced for so long. And I realized that we were done. Like the trial was over. It was past. It's not that things haven't hit us, that we haven't had to work through things, but we know how to do it now. We have all the tools. We have everything we need for it to never be like it was before. We'll never be back to that spot. He won't, and I won't. And I was so overcome with gratitude that it was indescribable. It really was. And I've had times since when I even think about this experience and I just cry because I can't tell you how much my life has changed. The prophet said to seek and expect miracles. And I did. And I got my miracle. And I know that you can too. So there's a path to peace. And it doesn't look like anything you've heard of or anything you've seen before. It's not contrary to the gospel, but none of the things that I'm going to teach you, most any of them, are anything I'd heard before. It was really foreign to me. And it was a new belief system that helped me to create the marriage that I wanted. So there's hope. There's a path to unity and peace. there's an end to the conflict, and you can experience meaningful connection again. You can laugh, you can have fun together again. You can confide in one another. You can be the support that you want to be to each other in your marriage. This is why you got married. You can feel joy. There are specific tools and skills to implement. I know what they are, and I can teach them to you. And as you do the work, you will remember the reasons why you chose each other in the beginning. And it is possible to develop trust and love even after betrayal. I have the answers. Go to charlotteshieldscoaching.com and you can join my programs. Learn what you need to learn. It is worth every amount of effort, every amount of money, everything you could possibly sacrifice. What is more important than this? Your marriage is a dark cloud in your life right now, and it's seeping into every single area of your life, into every relationship, into work, into your other relationships, into when you're cleaning the dishes, when you're doing the laundry, when you're sitting at your desk. It seeps into everything. And it's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to bring joy to you and your family and everyone around you. So come and join me. I can't wait to meet you and see you there. We are going to figure this out. Everything's figure outable, and you can seek and expect your miracles just like I did. Plan on things changing. They can.